Welcome to the Align and Abide podcast with Dr. Kim Tran, where we help you achieve your greatest God-given potential. Now, let's get started with the show.
The following program was pre-recorded and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management.
Health is wealth.
7 zeros in your bank account, an incredible family, your dream job. You could have it all, but if you're in pain, not be able to enjoy a moment of it. This is Health is Wealth, where your health is your greatest investment.
Best decision I ever made.
Here to help you get and stay healthy, it's Dr. Kim Tran from Minnesota Integrative Health.
Hey, it's Dr. Kim Tran. I host the Align and Abide podcast, where we explore ways to elevate your life through holistic health, wellness, and personal development and entrepreneurship. Together, we'll uncover how you can invest in your greatest asset, your health, and achieve your God-given potential. Past guests have included the Jesus Heals Foundation, Crosstown Young Life, 3,000 Acts of Kindness, and Joy Orlando. This episode is brought to you by Minnesota Family Chiropractic, a Christian chiropractic and integrative health clinic founded and led by Dr. Kim Tran, dedicated to helping patients find lasting relief and vibrant health through chiropractic care, nutrition, functional medicine, and inner healing prayer. Minnesota Family Chiropractic is on a mission to transform lives physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Our team of doctors focuses on whole person care to address the root causes, not just the symptoms, so you can get back to living fully. Ready to start your path towards better health? Visit drkimtran.com. That's drkimtran.com, or call 612-545-5672 to schedule your consultation and experience integrative patient-centered care. Now, I have an amazing guest on today. I know many of you are being called during this holiday season to, donate to so many places. And there are so many picks out there. And we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks is sometimes we're being called to say, hey, why don't you go save the kids over in Africa or in Asia? But what about if it's actually just in your next door to you, in your neighborhood, perhaps in the city right next to you? And today I have on Mike Evans with Foster One, and Foster One exists to serve the entire foster care and child welfare system, from traditional foster parent and kinship parents, social workers, and other professionals, and biological parents working to prevent removal of their children and reunify back with them. And I know, Mike, I'm so glad that we met through Substance Church, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, I know you'd mentioned Jeru Chef because I was down at the downtown campus. They were sharing this with Foster One, and I felt really called as a business to say, okay, let's go through. Let's take up how many kids? And then I kept asking for more and more kids.
Yes, that's the best. When we see one person sign up and they had so much fun shopping, they sign up and do it again.
Yeah, I know. They were like, I think when I was going through, whether it's Target, Costco, they were like, you have a really big load of carts. And it was amazing because with carts with all these toys, and I'm like going down the list, and they're like, wait a minute. And it was amazing when they knew I was actually buying gifts for foster kids at Foster One. They'd be like, hey, let's go discount you down. And so then I'd end up buying more.
Yeah, it's amazing. The
That's how it
generosity you
is.
find
Yeah.
in Target or Costco.
Which is amazing. Now, what got you involved with Foster One?
Oh, it actually started, our family was a new foster family, and we were looking for support and community.
Yeah.
So Foster One wasn't even a thing. We were looking for other foster parents, and we ended up starting a small group within our church. And that small group was supposed to be who was going to support us. And we're like, shoot, we now have to support all these new families that are so interested in foster care.
Yeah.
And so it started with us looking for support and community, and it just has grown into what it is.
Well, and you mentioned, because you have your 2 daughters, and then what led your family to say, okay, we're going to open our doors to a foster child?
Yeah, it was actually after a 21 days of prayer and fasting that our church does at the beginning of the year. We were already looking at how do we wanted to expand our family. We didn't know how. We were looking at international. We were looking at domestically, but the price tag was like there's no way we can do that. But it's funny because we've done international and God provided every penny. And it was actually my wife that through that prayer and fasting was like, we're supposed to become foster parents. And she goes, not to adopt, but we're supposed to become foster parents. And she was fully expecting me to tell her, no way, you're crazy, which no way you're crazy. It's foster care, right?
Right. I think that takes a little bit of crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
And so we started the process. We became licensed, and it actually took several months before we got our first placement. So then we started the whole doubting question, like, did we really hear God right? Were we supposed to do this? And then we got a phone call for our very first placement, and we ended up picking her up from the hospital when she was 3 days old.
Oh, wow.
And we went through the entire gamut of foster care, of working with mom, working with bio grandma. We got to see every side of how the system works with that one placement. And ultimately we ended up adopting her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So here we are trying to support other families, and we're trying to navigate this whole new system. And now we're adopting our third daughter at that point, but we're adopting a child.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is interesting. So I know there's so many times that we were talking about that people have a lot of negative connotations when it comes to the foster system. And I think this is important because so many times you think, oh, well, they're just taking in kids because they're just getting money from the government. They're just doing this. And how can people best prepare to become foster parents?
Oh, that's a tough question. And such a good question. It's hard. I think first you have to mentally, physically, and spiritually prepare yourself. The minute you say yes to even filling out the paperwork, spiritual warfare starts. It's real. It starts. We've seen water heaters go out. We've seen emergency surgeries, all by saying yes to filling out an application. So it's rallying people around you that can support you and pray for you. But you have to find a community of people who are doing it. Your friends, your families, they can sympathize with you, they can hear you, but to be able to throw out terms and acronyms to other people who know what you're going through is what you truly need. So we host a support group every other Tuesday, and it's not uncommon that we hear someone leave that support group for the very first time and say, I'm not alone. So it's that community that people really need, and it's a community of others going through exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing your support group?
Yeah. So it's held at Substance Church every other Tuesday from 6:30 to 8. I don't host it, and we offer childcare, and it's open to any foster family, any kinship family. So kinship is grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, family member of the child, and it's a room full of all people who are going through the foster care system.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting when we look at, sometimes when we look at, we make a decision with God and we say, okay, God, you're going to lead us in this way. And we think it's going to be easy. And I find that this is so important is so many times we'll turn away from what God is asking us to do because all of a sudden it became hard, not realizing when you are being obedient to God, right? Like when I talk about abiding, right? Being obedient to God, the enemy doesn't want you to go that direction, because if we're truly believing in reuniting families and lifting up children, and especially going through those types of environments, that they might be coming from a home filled with drug usage or abuse or sexual issues. And, knowing that you're going into that, but knowing that those kids need love, they need that attention. They need what we have to offer. Yeah.
The kids need and want and deserve that attention, but so do mom and dad.
Absolutely.
Mom and dad didn't wake up one day. Actually, just today, listened to something where the pastor shared a video of a homeless person who was clearly on some sort of drug. And he said, go back to her in kindergarten. This isn't where she thought she was going. So mom and dad didn't plan on this happening to them. And so much of the foster care system is generational, where mom and dad were in care, most likely their parents were in care. So this is a generational cycle. And we started seeing that trend. And so we were wondering, how can we support and equip or stop this trend from happening.
Yeah. And coming up, we're going to actually talk about how you can best stop these generational curses from continuing to happen and how you can get involved with Foster One coming up. And if you'd like more information, go to drkimtran.com. If you have said, you know what, I want to change my community. I want to start investing in kids. I want to invest in families. You want to see reunification of families instead of breaking up of families. You can actually go to fosterone.org for more information. All right. And this holiday season, you're set to sponsor over 2,000 foster kids.
That's our goal, is 2,000 this year. Yes, it's big, especially at the price tag.
Well, I was talking about this with patients yesterday, and they love it because they know I'm always like, okay, where are we going to this year? And they were like, okay, why you have stuff for 3,000 acts of kindness because we're collecting like gently used coats, winter items for the homeless. And then on top of it, they're like, okay, Foster One. Okay, of course, you're doing that. And I look at it this way. We always break down our gifts to about $25 increments because I know some people will choose 1, some people choose 4, some people choose 8. And, there's no gift that is too small. And I want you to think about that. There's never a gift that's too small. Maybe only a $5 and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to take my $5 and go buy some diapers. And it's amazing. If you have $5 and you just want to give $5, it's amazing what Mike and his team can do.
Yes.
With that.
Every dollar makes a huge impact. So we actually have our first shopping day tonight. And so we're going to go out, and our goal is to purchase for the first 200 kids of the 2,000. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah.
But we're sitting there at Target at checkout, and with gifts between $200 or $75 and $100, it's always on the high side that people are purchasing. So we should be spending a fair amount of money. And the amount of money we have left, watching God just spread every single dollar, we leave every time amazed at how much money we still have because of sales we didn't know, or we don't know. Our banker has even asked, how do you do what you do on this budget? And we don't know. We can only say God.
I mean, I think every year I was like, okay, I'll start with 10, and then 10 becomes 15, and then 15 becomes 20, 25. And I think Mike was at first, you're like, where are you? And why do you keep asking for more kids? Not realizing it was myself, my patients. And we've actually been, along our entire businessing, we've actually, as a team, been out asking more businesses to sponsor more kids this year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm just like, okay, let's go, guys. Let's do it as like an entire group with everyone. And, kind of getting back into this, and I think this is important. We want to break some lies that have been out there about the foster system. And something else that you mentioned was really important is, I know many of you have been struggling and you've been feeling barren and you're wanting a child, right? And you wanted that adoption. And, perhaps it turns out to be like Mike's story where he ended up adopting an amazing child, right? But that wasn't your goal into it. But knowing that you're going in and you're changing lives and you're breaking generational curses over families. Because sometimes we think, and I think this is so important that you said this, that, that drug addict you see on the street, the parent that's struggling, not being able to raise their kids, that's, think about that person as, what were they like at 5 years old? It's not like they envisioned themselves being the drug addict on the street. They had their hopes and dreams. And what if you're part of making sure that that family becomes what God envisioned?
Yes, 100%.
Right?
100%. Yes.
Which is huge, right? And so with Foster One, not only do you guys help out with supporting all of the items. So now a little bit of a background. So there's this huge area in Substance Church right up in Spring Lake Park where you guys have all of this stuff prepared for families.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing a little bit with that?
So our Storehouse. And that's one of the very first things that we did to help support families with diapers and wipes and cribs, things like that, because you don't always know what you're going to receive. And so we started helping families with that last minute need of diapers. They get that phone call. And now we really utilize that Storehouse to help grandma and grandpa who did not necessarily sign up to do this. They didn't know it was coming. They didn't have that support community. They got the phone call one day. They don't have the bed. They don't have diapers. They don't have car seats, things like that. And so we have a Storehouse that is full of all brand new equipment, because that's what these kids and these families deserve, is brand new equipment, and diapers and wipes to help them in the first initial months. But then we also use that Storehouse to help mom and dad. Maybe we started doing that because we got asked for, it was a simple bed. We need a bed to keep a family together. Like, you need a bed to keep a family together? Like, that's the best $200 I could spend. Yes. Here's a bed. And same thing with a mom or dad who's reunifying. Oftentimes they're starting over. They've just got out of treatment. They got their own apartment. They got a job. They're starting their life over, but they don't have anything for their apartment. So what can we do to help support, at least with the kid items for that new apartment?
Well, and I think you've mentioned a really strong word, right? Reunification.
Yeah.
And I think that from the things that I've heard and from other people when it comes to foster care, they're like, well, why should those parents be able to get back their kids?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that this is so important, is that God always has a plan. He plans the parents that we're going to have. They may not be perfect. I mean, many of you know, I came from an abusive alcoholic home, but I have always had this vision of my parents being able to change. Right. And if I know that that is true, God would never give you a vision that wouldn't be possible. And I think that's the same thing that happens with these families, is that sometimes they need someone else to step in as their father and mother, which may be you, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily you, right? It could be one of you listening, right? Yeah. That, because when our father and mother maybe are lacking in what they need, you know, our Father God always steps in, but he's going to provide other people who are going to mentor and become, you know, like father-like or mother-like figures.
Yep. Not just for the child, but even mom and dad. So we offer a parenting class for parents who are working either prevention or reunification. And it really stood out to me on our last class, as the social workers were referring. Almost every referral had the same comment, something along the lines of mom or dad are looking for support and community. And it was that community part. Mom and dad have already, like, people have given up on them. And I don't know, it just breaks my heart to think that someone has nobody in their corner. And so we welcome these families in, and it's a 7-week class. And from week 1 to week 7, they come in week 1, head down, where do I need to go? To week 7, high fives, hugs, everything before the class. So like, we've said it before, but this is generational. Mom and dad already gave up on them because they're most likely, they don't have friends, they don't have family. So if, like we were talking right before we aired, if there's a body of people who believes in restoration and new beginnings for not only the kids, but for mom and dad, isn't it the church?
Absolutely.
That we can come alongside them?
And that church, as we talked about, isn't physical, it's the people.
Yes.
It's the people that make it. And I know many of you are out there, and we know that as a church, we need to come together. We need to be more bold. We need to be more loving. We need to be more caring. And we need to give, because regardless, we know that more people are struggling with anxiety, depression, you know, suicide. And what if you started loving up on everybody? Yeah. Right. Yep.
And it takes stepping out of your comfort zone.
Oh,
it's not easy. It's scary. Like, you want me to do what? You want me to go talk to who? Or you want me to start what? Sometimes those crazy thoughts aren't our crazy thoughts. It's the Holy Spirit speaking to us, but we're too afraid to start.
Yeah. Oh, can you cover some of the things you talk about in the class? Like, how do you lead parents to get back to their kids?
Yeah. So the class it's actually written at a 5th grade level.
Oh, okay.
Because statistically, that's the reading level of the parents. So it's written at a 5th grade level, and it talks about anything from parents. Families are meant to be successful. Families can work as teams. God's design of family. So mom and dad. 1 week it does talk about punishment, or like discipline, not punishment, but discipline. And that's always a tough one because a lot of past thoughts and maybe how a parent had disciplined, or even how they were disciplined, it brings up a lot of past. And so that's usually a tough class to go through. So, but at the end, we actually, we do a full graduation for mom and dad. They get a certificate. We have it's almost a 90% success rate. Almost everyone every family gives their life to Christ at the end of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
We've seen multiple families attend our church on a regular basis afterwards. And it was all because somebody took 7 weeks out of their time. So every parent gets an advocate. It's a cheerleader for the parent. And that advocate took 7 weeks out of their schedule to pour into this family.
Oh, wow. So each parent gets an advocate.
Every parent gets an advocate.
Wow. That is amazing.
And I would say that relationship with the parent and advocate is more important than the 7 weeks of class, because they're talking real life. We have lunch before class. So they're talking, how did the week go? What are the wins and fails of the week that we all have? And we're open and honest. Like, I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect parent. And
what?
So,
no.
Right? I know.
Shocking.
And so when you can open up and be like, yeah, I messed up here. So crazy story. When we first started foster care, we had to go through a car seat training class. We literally left that training of car seats and bought new car seats for our two oldest kids. We're like, how have we not messed them up yet?
But yeah, they're still going.
They're still here.
They're still going. And for many of you, if you feel called to say, all right, maybe you need to go through and pray and fast on this too. But if you've been called to step up and serve your community, become a foster parent, you can find out more at fosterone.org. Again, that's fosterone.org. Or if you feel so moved to help out one of these 2,000 kids, also, you can reach out there too as well. You know, we want to break some generational cycles. We want to start changing our own community. And I'm going to tell you this, it's not about moving out of the state. No, you want to see changes. It doesn't happen with whoever the governor is. It doesn't matter who the Senate is. I know some of you are going to want to argue with me about that. Okay. But what it takes, right, is truly believing that God moves mountains, right? That God is moving greater than anything else, that he's going to overcome anything else that's going on. And what we need right now is what we've been talking about is unifying people, loving up on kids. And, you know, perhaps you feel moved to start helping out in the foster system. Perhaps it's just as simple as sponsoring one of the 2,000 kids with Foster One this Christmas. And I will tell you, it's one of the most rewarding things you can do. My patients love it. We absolutely love being able to give out more. We actually encourage my other team members, their kids actually go out and actually shop for the foster kids as well, so they can learn the value in that. But, you know, we talked about something else that's really important too, is that many people start to believe that, you know what, if I'm going to take a foster kid, I just want them when they're young, when they're babies, right? And then once they start getting up past 5 or 6, people don't want them, right? And there's a reality that's hitting here where we think, oh, wow, I got to go somewhere else to adopt or to help a child. But they're right here in our neighborhood, probably next door to you or in one of the group homes.
Yeah. There's group homes spread all over the city, all over the state. And people don't even know it. One of the group homes, it's Western Minnesota, has 80 boys and girls. And we actually provide a Christmas gift for every single one of them in the home. We work closely with them to get it, and that's just that group home. We try and do it for every group home in the city. If we know about them, we don't just want one kid; we want all of them.
Yeah. Well, and for some of you that are thinking, or like, well, why would I get something new for a child, right? Now, I just want to share with you some of these gift requests are not always what you think. Sometimes they're diapers, sometimes they're toys, sometimes it's they need clothing, they need shoes that are in their size, because they might be going around with their grocery bag filled with their old clothes that don't fit very much, or they're just worn out. They don't have the proper shoes for winter as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we hear it all the time that if it weren't for this program, one, they wouldn't receive a Christmas gift, which is just heartbreaking. While at the same time, we've heard that, like, we've actually had people ask, like, how did you know what to get? And it's fun watching how the Holy Spirit works. We actually, how they get distributed out is first come, first serve. So you sign up for a gift and the next one on the list gets sent out. But how those so perfectly get matched in the purchaser's hands, to be able to buy the perfect gift. A couple years ago, we had someone, it was a young teenage boy, big into Timberwolves. And the purchasing family actually worked for the organization, and they were able to get a signed basketball and all this really cool stuff that, like,
wow,
what are
amazing.
the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
God works.
Yes.
Yeah. That's just amazing though. But it's like we talk about this, and I think most people aren't aware. Like, we think about orphanages elsewhere, but we don't realize that there are orphanages here. We just don't call them orphanages after a certain age,
yes.
right?
Now it's just a group home. Typically, group homes are filled with teenagers or preteen, because, like you mentioned, it's harder to find a home for teenagers, and sadly, because people think it's the kid's fault that they're in foster care, which is actually such a minor percent of the reason of most foster care cases. And people want the younger babies because they're easier to handle, or the younger kids. And I would argue a teenager can at least voice how they're feeling, what they're doing. They're going to be louder, they're going to be more vocal about it, but they can at least voice you, and you can try and help them that way. But yeah, there's it really depends on what stat you look at, but there's anywhere between 10 and 15,000 kids in foster care right here in Minnesota. There's almost 500,000 in the entire U.S., and people don't know that. Like you mentioned, we know about orphanages, we know about third world countries, but it's right here in our backyards.
Well, and what would you say if somebody had a heart for that? Like, what would you say to change somebody's heart about, fostering a middle schooler, high schooler?
Oh, how would I? Oh man, that's a tough question. I don't even know how you answer that question. There are people that are specifically called to older ages, and we've walked alongside some of those families. Like, no, we specifically want teenagers. And I think it's one, if that's what you're feeling, like if you've said yes to foster care, it's all right, then we needed to do it. And if you hear that yes on age, then you need to go with it. Don't scroll social media, get off Google, because you're going to find every worst case scenario you can find. And I love to say there's beauty in brokenness, because you find it all over in the foster care system. There's amazing, beautiful things that are happening everywhere, but that's not what makes the news.
Well, and here's what I would also say is, don't limit yourself. If you're feeling that call into Foster One and you want to start fostering some kids, do not let your own lies, don't let those things, don't limit yourself, and don't limit God, right? Because what if you actually just walked into foster care and said, I am willing to take on whatever God has planned for me? Because what if you were being called to be the answer to that child that's a teenager? What if that was the baby, that child that you've been praying about? What if they're actually a teenager?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Even when we were praying about expanding our family, I never thought about foster care. Like, never once crossed my mind. And of course, it's my wife and she was expecting me, like I said, to say, you're crazy.
You probably did a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm sure we did. But yeah, you have no idea how God is going to move, how God is going to work. We've even adopted now internationally, and just the fingerprint of God between the two adoptions. So we adopted our third daughter the exact same day our fourth daughter was being born in an entirely different country. Wow. So all I can imagine is we were standing in the courtroom adopting our third daughter while our next daughter was being born, which wasn't even a thought of ours at the time. So to watch the fingerprint of God in all of this is amazing.
Well, and as many of you have heard, we've talked about it with Crosstown Young Life, with Joy Orlando, that the biggest group that is actually moving towards God and Jesus the fastest right now is, guess what? The middle schoolers and high schoolers. So what if you are the one that is being called to help them find God, to help them find Jesus, to know their worth and to know that they are loved?
Yes.
Because each and every one of them, each and every child, right?
Yeah.
Not just them, but every single child was made by God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
God had a plan for each and every one of them.
Every one of them. You and I were sons and daughters. Mom and dad were sons and daughters of God. And when you can walk around and actually like visualize, like you're a child of God, just like I am, and see them how God sees them, your heart starts breaking. Several years ago, our family kind of took the motto of assume it's a yes until you hear God say no. And that will change everything. Like when you keep saying yes to that hard question or that hard ask until you know it's an absolute no, like you can wind up in some pretty crazy situations. But it's following that voice of God that we so easily just silence. Because it's a crazy thought. There's no way we would do that. God would never have me do that.
Here's what I've learned, and this is what I think that many of you should do too, and this is probably definitely what you and your wife have already done, is I hear God and I say, okay, let's go, right? And this is how we ended up on a phone call. Because I was like, oh, Foster One. Like, let me call up Mike. And I was like, hey, Mike, this was last week. And I was like, hey, Mike, you got to come on air. We got to talk about Foster One. I know you're doing things with the kids. Yeah. And all you had to do was say, gosh, but this doctor sounds kind of familiar. Yeah. He's like, were you the one that kept taking up more and more kids? I was like, yes, I am.
Yep. I watch, and maybe it's a bad habit, but I watch every single gift that gets requested. I watch every single person who signs up because it's fun to see. Because one of the questions we ask is, how did you hear about it? And how people hear about it are unreal and amazing. So, and then we spoke, I think it was last year for the first time, and as your name kept coming.
Yeah.
On the sheet.
And I mean, we've been involved with Foster One for a while.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I heard God say, all right, take on this many kids. I was like, okay, God, let's go.
Right? You want me to do what?
Now I just don't question it. This is what gets me in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that I really want to challenge each and every one of you. What about if you just started saying yes to God and didn't hesitate and just take action? And this is so important when we look at obedience.
Yeah.
Obedience isn't just, okay, I'm going to say yes and, put it on the back burner. When God asks us to do something, and by the way, it's not always in your face. It's kind of that whisper of, hey, how many kids do you want to bring in from foster care? Right? How many kids do you want to sponsor? It's that small whisper, but when God asks us to do something, he's expecting us to go through and take action right now.
Yes. Yep. Not wait, not do research, not I'll pray about it, right? It's now. Now. And if you've been looking to train, to make a transformation, perhaps it's just with yourself and your family, and you say, hey, I want to show my kids what God can do, get involved with Foster One. You can go to fosterone.org, sponsor a child. You can donate money. Perhaps you just want to say, I'm going to step up and be an advocate for these parents. Again, that is fosterone.org. And if you feel so moved by God to say, all right, I think we need to start transforming our own community, and maybe that transformation for yourself, maybe you're feeling a little bit empty. Maybe you feel that you're missing out on your purpose. Perhaps this is your calling, right? So you become a foster parent to help transform our own community. Yeah. Not only that, there's so many ways you can get involved and not be a foster parent. Can you support a foster parent? Can you provide a meal for a foster parent? We have care teams that also support foster and kinship families through meals. And we've heard some pretty amazing stories of how a simple meal made a difference on that day, because it's usually a difficult day, and they don't have to worry about dinner that evening. So yeah, you don't have to be a foster parent to be involved in the child welfare system.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first found out about Foster One, God really called me back to Minnesota. I had started my practice from scratch back in 2019 again, because if you start a business, why not start a second one again?
It's so easy. It's so easy.
Just do it. I think about this is that God calls us to fuel in as kingdom financiers, kingdom businesses, to help with kingdom ministries, because whatever you've been called into, whether that is, and I know we talked about your business is not Foster.
No, yeah. So I own a private business outside of Foster One.
Yeah. And many of us have been called into different things from God, but that doesn't mean that we can't impact people in different ways, whether you've been called to landscaping, contracting, or perhaps it's just working as a nurse or a doctor. All of those things, we can still move in God's mission.
Yeah.
And, I think about that, like when we were first there and all of a sudden we started hearing about Foster One, because you had started. And what was your background as far as saying, okay, you know what, we're going to start giving to kids this Christmas?
Well, yeah. So this is year 7 of doing it. So it would have been 8 years ago. We started getting requests for a Storehouse for Christmas gifts. And our finance guy likes to always use the phrase, we're on a shoestring budget, because we are. Everything we do is on a shoestring budget. So we weren't in a place to do it that year, but we got a group of our friends kind of rallied around, and we did 3 or 4 kids. And then we went to leadership of our church. And we're like, hey, what if next year we did 50 kids in foster care? We got them a gift. And our executive pastor actually looked at us and said, why just 50? And me being a numbers guy and a business owner, I'm like, because who's fronting this bill if 50 don't? It shows my faith level, right?
Right. Now, was that Pastor Drew or
that was actually Pastor Nate?
Oh, okay.
Said that. Why just 50? And so year 1, so 7 or 6 years ago, we just cast the net really, really shallow. Just went to one county that we worked closely with, and the response actually from Substance Church was so large that we had to cast that net bigger and bigger. So year 1, we had a goal of doing 50, and we did 400. If that shows you anything. We didn't have the volunteer base. We didn't have the bandwidth. We were ready for 50, and we did 400. And then year 2, we did 800. Year 3, we did 1,200. Year 4, we did 1,300, 1,500. Last year, we did over 1,800. And this year, our goal is 2,000, but the way they're currently coming in, we could easily go over 2,000. They're coming in at a rate 20% faster than they have any previous years.
Wow!
So if we have the finances, if we have the sponsors, we can easily go past 2,000 this year.
Oh wow! Well, and so just to give a little background, what number are you currently at with kids sponsored?
600. A couple have come in since we've been sitting here, so somewhere around 650. And right now there's over 1,300 that are registered. We have registration open for 2 more weeks, so we will easily surpass 2,000 if we can.
Isn't that amazing though?
Yeah.
Because I mean, and you're like thinking, gosh, if we have that, and I'm like, oh no, God is calling you.
Yes.
God is calling you right now to say, let's go through, let's sponsor some foster kids. What if your gift meant changing the life of somebody to make them feel that they were loved?
Yes, 100%.
What if, I was thinking about this. I bought a pair of boots last year because it was really cold. She needed boots because she was one of, the students that lived in a group home.
Yeah. So
she had to take the bus everywhere, and she didn't have a proper pair of boots.
Yep.
And I remember walking into the Timberland store and being like, hey, I need this type of boot. And I'm like, okay, tell me what it is. Right. The guy's like, you're very specific. And I'm like, I've got my list.
Yep. And that's what's amazing is we work so closely with the social workers and the foster families that we know exactly what the child wants. So it's not a generic gift that they're getting. Like, they're getting exactly what they want. And to you and I, those boots are just, they're a necessity. We go and get them. But for her, she had no other way of getting them. So for her to unwrap that box of boots was, I can just imagine her face when she opened it up.
Yeah, which is amazing. And now there is a deadline for this because I know you want to get all the gifts by December.
We are distributing them on December 13th.
Oh,
so
okay.
we try and get them all in by December 7th, which is the Sunday prior.
Ooh,
which
that's tight this year, huh?
Yeah, which doesn't always happen. We're usually at Target till about midnight on that Wednesday before doing our final shopping. And then we pull it all together that Friday, Saturday, and hundreds of families come and social workers come on that day from all over. Like literally, we have Rochester to Moorhead to as far west and east, like the entire state comes. And oftentimes the whole county comes. So somebody from the county or the tribe, because there's a couple tribes that we do every single one. They send a truck and a trailer, and we make sure we get every one of them on the list.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you ever imagine it would grow this big?
No. Our goal was 50. So
50
then we
to
did
2,000.
400, and it was actually Pastor Nate who told us, and it was after the very end of year one, as we're looking at the room that's now empty. All the gifts were handed out, and I can visualize exactly where we're standing. And he looked at me and he goes, Mike, you're never going to know the impact until eternity. We're never going to know what that Christmas gift did until eternity. And generations to come for that, not only the child receiving it, but the family.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and I think that every time I get to watch some of these kids now, because I'm involved with Crosstown Young Life, I keep getting involved with ministries. I'm always like, how many am I heading up right now? No, but I get to watch these kids light up. And I'm sure that alone is a gift in itself. Being able to watch the faces of each and every one of those parents coming in, the kids coming in, all of those people, just to see that somebody remembered them, that somebody loved on them.
Yes.
And for some of us out there, I know you've been at a point where maybe you felt lost, you felt alone, that you felt abandoned by God. And God puts us on a mission that we were meant to find the lost ones. We talk about the story with the shepherd, right? Mm-hmm. He leaves the 99 to come find the one. And each one of those kids, if you think about that, what if you are the one that is meant to help them on their journey towards God and Jesus?
Yeah, we're called to be disciple makers.
Mm-hmm.
So young, old, big, small, like what difference can we make even in our own sphere at Target? You're at the checkout line. How can you impact that person you're with?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So now, like, what can people do if they're looking for more information from you?
Yeah, so you can go right to our website, fosterone.org. Our Christmas event is right on the homepage. All of our outreaches and services are all easily labeled on the webpage. And yeah, like with your help, we can make sure not just Christmas. After Christmas, we go right into our next event with supporting parents. And so every impact and every person who helps makes this possible for us.
Because I think it's important to remember is that this is not just a Christmas thing.
Yeah. No, we do stuff 365 days a year. I meet social workers weekly for the Storehouse, families weekly, and then we host the parenting class 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm. And if you are a foster parent or you are a grandparent or someone else that needs that support, they can also reach out to fosterone.org.
Yep, they can go right on our website or even email us info@fosterone.org. And it's my wife and I that man that email, and we'll get back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know that many of you are being called this holiday season, not just to give out with gifts and change our community, but I know that God is calling each and every one of you to do something even bigger, because we were meant to come together as a church, because the people of the church.
Yes, it's not the building.
Yeah, we are meant to lift up. And what if today you started to give more, love more, and transform your community? And you can go to fosterone.org for more information. Again, that's fosterone.org.
Thanks for listening to the Align and Abide podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.